Welcome, 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 ATL fans. Welcome, Philly fans. Welcome, New Orleans fans who we just beat this past weekend. Welcome to, you may as well watch Marvel's Thor because you got nothing else to watch. But then neither do our Falcons, so it's okay. I butchered that one. Jordan, how you doing
Welcome to
tonight,
the
buddy?
couch.
That's
Welcome to the couch, buddy.
how you doing
I'm
tonight,
doing
man? You all right?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm good. So tonight we got another two for. We're gonna get into Thor, the first movie, from 2011, and then we're gonna get into the Avengers. And I tell you what, man, going back and watching this, what a treat, man! What a treat. I think the fun thing about doing this is I'm beginning to realize that a lot of these movies that I saw, God knows how many years ago, I really didn't focus on the movie so much as the aesthetic, so much as the comics, so much as my perceived equivalent to the comic version of the heroes. And you miss a lot doing that. This was a very good, I don't want to call it a coming of age story, but this to me is a movie about worthiness. Really enjoyed this film. Went back and rewatched it. Kind of looked up some reviews. Really enjoyed it. This is Thor, directed by Kenneth Branagh in 2011, produced by Kevin Feige. The worldwide box office was 449 million worldwide, and it had to make a lot of money because they made four of them. So, really enjoyed it. In the MCU timeline, it was Phase One, Film 4. Tell me your first thoughts on Thor, man. After you went back and rewatched it, let's talk about it.
Well, I remember the first time I saw it, I saw it with my mom. Most of these I'm going to see with my mom. My mom's the one who got me into Marvel and got me into comics and stuff like that.
Your mom's awesome.
Um,
Your mom's awesome,
yeah.
by the way.
And my entire the rest of my family isn't into that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I remember when they were coming out with the Thor movie. I never had a Thor action figure when I was growing up. I wanted to, and I remember, and if my mom ever watches this, she probably won't. She's probably gonna be like, that never happened. Yeah, it did. I have great memory. Um, I do you remember? Well, all right. When I was growing up, they had the Build-A-Figures where you'd buy an action figure, you'd get a reprint of the comic of their first comic, or that issue of that action figure. You get the action figure, and then you'd get a piece to a bigger figurine. That's how I built my Galactus. I built almost a whole Sentinel. I missed an arm and a leg, and a couple other. I think Apocalypse too. I finished. Well. I remember I needed Thor for one of the Sentinels, and she put it on I think she put it on layaway or something with Walmart, and we just never got it. So that was the closest I ever got to getting a Thor action figure. I never got a Thor action figure, but I knew with Thor, I was like, my mom's gonna love Thor. I don't know what it is, but she's gonna love Thor. Like her favorite is the Hulk. The Hulk is her favorite. Wolverine's up there too, especially Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. For a lot of women and girls in Marvel and comics into anything, they're usually into Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. That's just an obvious one.
They love him.
Um, and they love Thor too. So I
Yeah,
was
they do.
like, yeah, my mom's probably gonna love Thor. I love the Shakespearean aspect of this film, and that's why they got this specific director who
Kenneth Branagh, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
big in the Shakespeare. It made total sense. I just think there and I what's funny is I think what he did with the Shakespearean elements of Asgard is perfect, and everything else sucks. Um, I I enjoyed this film when I first saw it. I was like, yeah, this is good. And even to this day, my thoughts on this movie have never changed. It's
Hmm.
always been about the same. But the more content we get, the more it kind of trickles to like the middle of like my rankings and stuff like that, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's not a bad film, but it's not this great thing at all either. It's just a good film. It does a lot of really good things. It does a lot of boring things. That's what you get with a Shakespearean film, though. But I think the boring aspects aren't the Shakespearean, like Asgardian stuff. I think it's the stuff on Earth. Um, and I've dug this film. I'm so glad Chris Hemsworth is Thor. I mean, I just visually can't picture anyone else playing Thor outside of maybe his little brothers. I think Liam Hemsworth, which actually for Thor, Liam Hemsworth was originally given the role for Thor. He was being eyed for Thor, and not Chris, because Chris bombed his audition. Chris
Wow.
bombed his audition, and he went and did a movie with Joss Whedon, um, called Cabin in the Woods, which was like a parody horror film. And he told Joss Whedon, he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't get that part. I bombed it. And Joss Whedon made a call. He got a second audition and he nailed it. And that's how Chris Hemsworth became Thor. And Tom Hiddleston, which now that video is everywhere. His audition for Thor is everywhere. He auditioned for Thor initially, and Marvel, everybody really knew that he wasn't going to be Thor, but they loved the idea that he could be Loki, and it would be hilarious. I just cannot picture a world where Tom Hiddleston was Thor. I just think he's too small, all too
Yeah.
scrawny to play that. Liam Hemsworth and Chris Hemsworth are built figures. Now Daniel Craig, James Bond, the new James Bond,
Mm-hmm.
he was given the role without an audition. He was the first person that they wanted for Thor, but he couldn't do it because of James Bond.
Right. Right.
Um, Now looking at it, I don't know how tall Daniel Craig is. He doesn't look that tall. I have not looked into like what his height is, but he just doesn't look that tall. What makes Chris Hemsworth so great as Thor and so godlike as Thor is he's a really tall dude.
Yeah.
Like not only is he jacked, like Daniel Craig, I'm sure if he worked out enough, he could probably get jacked enough to play Thor. But Chris Hemsworth's height and his stature is like when you put him side by side with Loki, side by side with Captain America, and he's daunting. He's just enormous compared to all these people. Like not only is he jacked, but he's tall. And that's the one reason why John Krasinski didn't become Captain America is because he was putting on the suit. And Chris Hemsworth's like, looks great, bud. In the back, and he's like, nope, I can't do this. Like Chris Hemsworth without a shirt and jacked, and John Krasinski's like, I can't. You think you want me to compete with that? Um, so I'm so glad we got Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Like he has done such a great job. And I saw a clip. I haven't seen Thor and Love and Thunder in a while, for obvious reasons. I just don't think it's a good film. But that end part with him and Love, which the actress who plays Love is Thor's daughter in real life. Um, it's so heartwarming that part, and that's my favorite part of Thor: Love and Thunder is the two of them being together, knowing that that's his actual daughter. Like it makes it you feel more for that character, and that's the one with Chris Hemsworth on screen is you see him relate to and you see him connect well with everybody on screen. Whether that's Heimdall, whether that's Loki, whether that's Natalie Portman's character, whether that's any of the Avengers characters, like does such a great job of connecting with everybody. And I don't know, like Robert Downey Jr., I don't know how we could get another Thor. And it's not like Captain America with Chris Evans. I do think we could get another Captain America, another Steve Rogers too, eventually down the road. But with Thor, I mean, I think especially because he didn't die after during Endgame, like he could go on to play Thor for the rest of his life if he wanted to, and play like an old man Thor 20 years down the road.
Yeah, he could. Um, it's funny. When I first saw this movie, I thought, okay, it was decent. It was okay. But again, after rewatching it, I love the story. I love the
Mhm.
story because it's about so much more than just Asgard and Midgard or Earth and all of that. This is a story of Thor proving his worthiness and Loki trying to get approval from his dad.
Mhm.
And just the themes in here and Loki's ambition. Um, but I enjoyed it. But let's get to it. So Thor, the arrogant prince of Asgard, reignites a war with the frost giants and is stripped of his powers by Odin. Banished to Earth, Thor is forced to live among humans, powerless and humbled. Meanwhile, Loki uncovers the truth of his heritage and seizes control of Asgard. Thor ultimately sacrifices himself to protect others, proves himself worthy of Mjolnir, and returns to stop Loki, but loses the ability to return to Earth. Um, what this movie's about really is worthiness. It's not about strength. It's not about birthright. It's not about power. The movie argues that leadership is earned through humility and sacrifice, not inheritance. Thor doesn't become a hero by winning. He becomes worthy by choosing others over himself. But let's get to some scenes here. So in the first scene, is the coronation that never really happened. So Thor is about to be made king of Asgard. And, I think one of the main themes in this movie is jealousy. It's envy. It's Cain and Abel. It's, you know what I mean? He even says it when he's talking, he's talking to the Frost Giants or talking to somebody, and he's like, well, I just did it to ruin Thor's day. You know what I mean? And just postpone him being king because he's Loki and he's envious. And this hey, it's a tale as old as time. So the film opens in Asgard as Thor prepares to be crowned king by Odin. Loki watches from the shadows, clearly feeling overlooked. The ceremony is interrupted when the frost giants infiltrate the vault and attempt to steal the casket of ancient winners. Odin stops them, but Thor, furious and eager to prove himself, sees the intrusion as an act of war. Against Odin's direct orders, Thor leads a reckless assault on Jotunheim. This moment establishes Thor's core flaw: arrogance disguised as bravery. Let me tell you something. I don't even want to talk about that scene. I want to talk about when they go to Jotunheim. We get to witness Thor in all his glory. Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. Thor was blood drunk. You hear me? He's like, they're like, Thor, we gotta go. You guys go ahead. I'm gonna continue to stay here and keep whooping ass. And he was doing things with the hammer that I'd forgotten he could do. You know what I mean? He's lining them up and throwing it and swinging it around and controlling the lightning and just doing all sorts of things. And it was a really fun scene. It was fun. What was fun about it was when he gets down there and the frost giant says to him, "What have you come here for, Odin's son?" or something like that. And he's like, "I came to see how you guys snuck into Asgard and blah 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 blah." And he's like, "I'm going to forgive this, so you guys need to leave right now." And then as he walks away, he calls him some name, right? And Thor just smiles. And Lady Sith and the Warriors 3 and Loki all say, "Oh God," because they know what's about to go down, right? It's like and I forget what name he called him. I don't know if I forget what name he called him, but it was an insult. But you could see Thor like, yes, yes, I get to show these fools what I can do. I get to whoop his ass. And he's like, "What'd you say?" And wham, and they go after it. And I really enjoyed the fight scenes on Jotunheim. I thought it was great. Enjoyed it. I liked the way I thought they creatively introduced Thor in the way that he was able to wield his hammer. I thought it was just kind of cool, man. I really enjoyed it, especially when whatever that frost beast is got loose and comes for them, and Thor, is doing the thing with his hammer, and he shoots up like Superman, and then we see him come out of nowhere and go through this creature and put a hole in the back of his head, and just phenomenal, man. I enjoyed the effects in this scene. I thought it was a really cool scene. Give me your thoughts on this.
I mean, the one thing when you get a Thor movie, there's always going to be a really good just scene with his hammer or lightning, and this is this was probably the best action scene in my opinion of the
Yeah,
whole movie.
yeah.
Um, there's not a ton of action in this movie. That's probably where I have some issues with it. There's some like you go on Earth and you have the battle with I don't remember what that robot thing is from Asgard, between Thor and him. That's probably the next best battle. There's just not many really cool fight scenes, but this is the best fight scene with Thor just displaying his powers on the center stage, and it's such a cool scene, especially with the atmosphere. Like it's really cold and it's like a cold setting. There's snow and ice everywhere. You have big monsters that are like 20 times his size. Like it's really cool. It's just a really cool scene altogether.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and but the thing is, and what we see here is that he's so involved in the battle, he doesn't care what's going on with his people. Like one of the warriors gets injured, and they're saying, Thor, we have to go, and Thor's like, you guys go ahead. At this point, Thor is entitled, he's spoiled, he's a boy trying to prove a point. He's not considering the impacts of his actions and how this could lead to a greater war, based on the actions of a few. That's really what Odin is telling him. Odin is telling him, we didn't get an onslaught of these people. It was a few people, right? So why do you want to go and attack an entire world of people when it would for the actions of just a few, right? And Thor doesn't want to hear it because Thor has an ego. And we really see this in this scene. And the funny thing about Loki is before they go, Loki is always stirring it up, right? So when the whole thing goes down, Thor and Odin have an argument, and you know, Thor says to him, "You're an old fool." Or no, 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 no. He said that afterwards. My bad. But you know, Odin warned him not to go, and Loki says to him, "Well, I agree with you, Thor. But I mean, if you do it, Father's just gonna get mad. Like he's just winding up Thor, right? He's just winding him up, and he's like, you shouldn't do it because Dad's gonna get mad. But I agree with you, knowing the whole time that he's giving Thor a little push, right? One thing about Thor when it comes to Loki, he's very naive, or at least in the beginning of this film, he's very naive when it comes to Loki. So I thought that was interesting, but we do see him start as a definitely a warrior, definitely a guy that likes to get in the mix, but not particularly a thinker at this point. Um, Give me your thoughts on just that interaction between Thor and Loki, and that one that sets up the entire movie where Loki's manipulating him.
I mean, this is what makes Tom Hiddleston's Loki so great to start. And actually, when we get into the Avengers, Loki was never supposed to be the villain of the movie. There was supposed to be another villain that we've already seen that was supposed to be the villain of the movie. But he did such a great job in Thor, and Chris Hemsworth did such a great job in Thor that Thor's parts increased in the Avengers, and Tom Hiddleston ended up being the main villain. And Joss Whedon didn't even want Loki to be the main villain because he felt like he was too small of a villain to be that. But he's so manipulative,
Mm-hmm.
and it's he's written in such a great way that his manipulation is his biggest superpower. It's
Yeah,
not his like magic and stuff like that.
yeah,
It's his manipulation. And
yeah.
you know, I will say this iteration of Thor. we probably don't see this iteration of Thor until maybe Thor: Love and Thunder, where he's just so oblivious to things.
Mm-hmm.
And we see him learn a little bit. We see it a little bit in the Avengers, but then you slowly see as the movies go on him learning things more and more. He's like a child almost in this movie that's given a hammer, and it's like giving like a 12-year-old your keys to your car and saying, "Hey, I need you to drive to the grocery store
Mm-hmm.
and get some milk." Like like you're telling me this guy was going to be the king of Asgard? That's a load of crap.
Yeah.
I just I there was like we don't see why Thor should be king. We just see like we open up where he's becoming king clearly, but then as the movie goes on, we're like, why was this guy supposed to be king in the first place? Like he goes from in a matter of probably hours from about to be king, literally a couple words from being the king of Asgard
Mm-hmm.
to you're banished, you're going to Midgard, you're going to Earth
Mm-hmm.
without your powers. You got to figure this out on your own. How like that's maybe my issue with this movie is like maybe the backstory because like I had mentioned in what movie was that? Iron Man 2, I think, in our review, where I was like or no, it was the Incredible Hulk because we were talking about origin stories, and that was technically an origin story,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even though it wasn't. Like, and I told you, I was like, this Thor's not really an origin story. And I don't even know how you do it unless you see him being raised. And you see I guess you open up it with it a little bit in this movie, but not a ton. Um, you just you're just like, all right, why is this guy supposed to be king? And you don't really feel bad for him at all. I've never, every time I've watched this movie, I never feel bad for Thor going to Midgard. I'm like, yeah, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
If I was Odin, I would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Now, what he does to Loki, in my opinion, is worse. Not telling him this whole time, was worse, because there was bias. And Odin's been wrong. If there's one thing you learn from these first three Thor movies, Odin was wrong, and but that's okay. I mean, it's one of those things that like not a lot of times in film do do writers portray like fathers or mothers as like they're clearly wrong, even though they're not like abusive or anything, and they're just wrong. And Odin was wrong for what he did to Loki because he also was wrong to Thor too. Like he wanted, he made Thor. He was gonna make Thor king, and he kept saying like he treats both of them equally and stuff like that. But that was a load of crap. Like because Loki never had a chance to become king of Asgard, because of because he was born, from Laufey's son, from Laufey, and I'm just like you should have talked to you should have talked with him
But
about
don't
this.
you don't you think he was in a tough position though? I mean, and I'm not excusing what he did. Okay. But what's he supposed to say? You're the son of my mortal enemy. You are the son of my rival. You know, and again, I'm not. Let me give you a little background.
Hmm.
My father, who raised me, adopted me.
Hmm.
Okay, my mom married him. I did not find out until I was 16, and I found out in a very bad way, and I was pissed. I was really pissed. But in this case, and I'm being practical here, maybe he should have told him. I'm not saying you're wrong, but how do you explain that? Right? Like how do you say, we got you from the frost giants right? And another thing, while I'm thinking about it, why does he appear differently? Why is he not blue? Is that a magic spell from Odin? Like why?
That's my
What?
guess. That's my guess.
Okay, okay, because
Um,
yeah,
but here's the thing. You said it. Like for you, there was like a situation that happened,
right,
that what bad situation that happened that led you to finding out. The same thing, but like fictionally in this movie
right,
with Loki
correct,
finding out
correct,
with
correct.
Odin. Loki is what? How thousands of years old? They
Yeah,
said
yeah, yeah.
like thousands of years old, and
That's true.
you couldn't be so emotionally stable that you couldn't actually you didn't have a relationship in the begin with
Good
because
point.
you couldn't sit down and just and have a rational conversation with him one day and say, Loki, I need to tell you something. Like you didn't have the cojones to do that.
Right.
That's where there's a whole problem. There's like a masculine problem with Odin, that he like wants to be always in charge and stuff like that. Because I mean, when does Thor actually become king of Asgard? I mean, we don't actually know. That's off screen. I mean, I guess unless in because it doesn't happen in the Dark World, so it happens in Ragnarok where Odin dies and then Thor then just becomes king. Um, so
Well, remember, Thor says to Odin at the end of this one that I know I'm not ready now, but one day I'm gonna
yes,
make you proud, right? So he
yes,
he acknowledges that he's not ready. And to answer your first
yes.
question, I think they were going to. I think Odin was gonna make him king because clearly in battle Thor is second to none, right?
Yeah.
So part of a king is being strong. A part. He even says to him, you know, a king can't doesn't shouldn't be willing to just go into a fight, but he has to always be ready or something to
Hmm.
that effect.
Yes.
But I think he was choosing Thor because as we can see, Thor can fight. Okay? Thor can fight. So and to be honest, in certain regions of the world, that's why some people are king, right?
Mhm.
Not in everyone, but I think that would be the answer to your question. Now, during this movie, as we see it play out, we see that Odin sees that he was wrong. That Thor is really immature, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I think you're right. Obviously, Odin was wrong. It's a tough situation because it's you're the child of my mortal enemy. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like you are the child of the dudes that we banished to Jotunheim, and we really don't like them. You know what I mean? But to your point, they did have thousands of years to work it out. So I can't really
Yeah.
excuse it. I can't excuse it. I can't. It is difficult, but I can't really excuse it. But it's interesting because this sets up the entire conflict. The entire thing with Thanos is started here because Loki feels rejected, because Loki's
Mhm.
hurt, because Loki's mad, because this is basically the whole plot of the Avengers is Loki having a tantrum. Oh, I'll show them, you know, I'm the rightful heir to the throne. And I'm saying to myself, and it's funny at how when we get angry and we get to ourselves, if we don't get smart, wise counsel, how we can formulate things that didn't happen, right? He was like, I was betrayed. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You weren't betrayed for the throne. Now, if you want to say you were betrayed because Odin didn't tell you, that's fine, but you weren't betrayed. Look at how you took the throne. You were deceptive and manipulative, and you planned all of this before you knew, right? So, if anything, you proved you weren't worthy. But anyway, we'll get into that later.
Mhm.
So, um, Thor crash lands in Mexico, and the funny, so Jane Foster and her posse, Eric, the scientist, and whoever, what's her name is, which by the way, she was in, oh God, Scarlet
Was it too
Witch's
broke?
Wanda. She was in the
Oh
Wanda
yeah, yeah. She
series.
was in
She was in the
WandaVision.
Wanda
Yeah, yeah,
series, and then I
yeah.
think she was in another one after that. But I had forgotten she was in this movie. Um, but anyway, they're out looking for thunderstorms. And what's interesting is they say to her, well, she's like, it's been spot on 17 times. And I'm saying to myself, you got to be talking about something else because Thor hasn't tried to come to Earth 17 times. This is the only time he's tried to come to Earth. So you can't be talking about Thor. You got to be talking about other storms and other constellations or whatever she was trying to find. Anyway, of course, the tornado, the whirlwind, whatever you want to call this thing, happens, and Thor slams up against their mystery machine, whatever vehicle they're driving. And the first thing she says is, "Don't be dead. Don't be dead. Please don't be dead. Please don't be dead." And then it's funny because the other lady's like, "Well, it's your fault." And they start blaming each other, which again, I thought that was funny because that's exactly what people would do, right? Because like, oh God, is he dead? It's murder. What do I do? And so I thought that was interesting. But of course, he doesn't have his powers. And the interesting thing, he has blonde eyebrow. I didn't realize they dyed his eyebrows blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah, what up with that?
I
I,
don't know.
I don't know either.
That's
But
kind of weird.
it is kind of weird because I've forgotten that. I'm watching the whole movie with him with blonde eyebrows, like just confused. Like, okay, I don't know. But anyway, um, so of
Quick
course,
question.
yeah. What's up?
All right. Should Thor have long hair or the short hair that we see in Ragnarok and Infinity War?
I think to introduce him, he should have long hair because that's the character we've come to know.
Well, yeah, but generally speaking, like if you were doing a random Avengers movie, not one that's like supposed to be the end all be all, but like an Age of Ultron somewhere in the middle, would you have him with short hair or long hair?
Probably short hair.
Yeah, I agree. I think his best look was in Ragnarok and Infinity War. I think
Yeah,
that was my favorite version, and we might be getting that version in Doomsday. Like from what I've seen in pictures, I mean, he looks really comic accurate. Now this is the most comic accurate, the long hair.
right.
And in my opinion, I I I don't think we've gotten a bad Thor outfit. I think all of his costume designs have just been really
No, they're
spot
awesome.
on.
They are awesome.
Um, I mean, Mjolnir is like really cool. I love when you look at closely at Mjolnir and you see the designs and stuff. That's when
Hmm.
it's really cool. Like when Odin whispers and you see it light up and stuff.
That was
That's
great.
really cool.
That was great. That was great.
Hmm.
That was great. So yeah, Thor crash lands in Mexico, literally with Dr. Jane Foster and her research team. Used to godhood, Thor struggles with basic human limitations and is arrested after attempting to reclaim Mjolnir from Shield. That scene was kind of funny and sad at the same time, right? Like he goes in there, and the way they play it is perfect because they play the music like he's about to lift it in the air and just vanquish his enemies. Yes, I did say vanquish. And it's like then he goes to lift it up and he can't lift it up. And it's in that moment that he realizes I'm really human. Like I really have no powers. Like this thing is real. Oh my God. Right? And he has that moment. But it's also in this moment, in my opinion, that he gets really humble. Because after this we kind of see a different Thor. Even when he first gets to Earth and they're in this coffee shop and he's drinking something that he likes, he smashes the glass and says, "Bring another." And of course, he's it used to being king and entitled. And Jane says, "You don't have to do that. That's." And he was like, "Well, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful," and he wasn't. That's just what he's used to doing. You look like you got something to say. Go ahead.
So a funny thing about that scene, I think it's a funny scene. Like when every time I see it, I'm like, oh, that's really funny. And then that's it. We don't really get anything about that. That was supposed to be a running thing throughout the whole film.
Really?
So there was supposed to be a scene at the beginning of the film where he's like another and smashes down a beer glass and everybody on Asgard cheers. There was supposed to be another scene later on where it happens there was supposed to be this scene. There was supposed to be another scene where Eric and him, when they're at the bar, where Eric smashes down on a beer glass and says another. It was supposed to be
Another.
a running thing. And in my opinion, I think this movie needed that. Because there's something when he goes to Earth. I'll start it off by saying this. I love everything that is in Asgard. I want to spend more time in Asgard. And in my opinion, the most we spend on Asgard is in Thor: The Dark World, which is kind of sad. And not that I don't think it's the worst movie ever, but it's not a great movie at all. But the most time we spend on Asgard is in the Dark World, and this movie, when as soon as we leave Asgard, I, I'm just like, we go to New Mexico, we just see flat land and stuff like that. And I know it's supposed to represent like, oh, he goes from Asgard with all these mountains and hills, this beautiful landscape, all
Right.
these amazing buildings and stuff like that, to just flat land in New Mexico.
Right.
That makes total sense to like not mirror each other, but go from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. I get that. So it just makes it very boring. Like, there are beautiful places on Earth, probably as beautiful as Asgard, but it just, I don't know. I get bored when we go to Earth. Every scene that I see, I'm just like, I'm just like, okay, all right, this is funny. And then when Thor's not in the picture and we're just kind of going around in New Mexico, and I'm just like, all right, I don't know. I kind of just want to skip to the next scene. Yeah, I don't know. I just get bored with it.
Mm.
Um, there's just not a lot. Like, I like Jane, but
Hmm.
and Natalie Portman is an amazing actress. I
She
want
is.
to make that
She is.
very clear. I
She
love
is.
Natalie Portman
She
in
really is.
so many
Yeah,
things,
she is.
especially as Padme in Star Wars. Um, but I don't care for her character all of that much. I love science. I can understand a lot of science scenes that maybe other people might not understand, like in Back to the Future when they're talking about the flux capacitor. Flux capacitor is not a real thing, but the science behind it is really cool. The interesting ideas that they present. Um, like, there are movies where I watch and I hear the science and I'm like, okay, that's a cool fictional way to like splice like real science terminology into this. Like, it makes sense. What Jane says scientifically in this movie for whatever she's doing, which I don't even know what she's trying to really do all that much.
Me neither.
I don't understand and I'm bored.
Hmm.
Like, for me to get bored of science is crazy. Eric, I love Eric when he gets drunk and when he's trying to relate to Thor and stuff like that, and
He's
he's
like,
trying to
I
back
still
up
don't
Thor.
believe you're Thor, but you should be.
And when he's talking to Agent Coulson and Coulson's like, he wiped out 30 of my men. He's like, steroids. Like, that's it's such a great it's a great line. I love that.
He's like,
Um
his name's Donald. What did he say? Donald Blake, and he's an
yeah.
engineer. He's just he works out a lot, but he's an engineer. It was great, man. That was great.
Um and then I don't remember her name. I know she's from Two Broke Girls, and she shows up
Yeah,
in WandaVision.
yeah,
Um she's funny, but like, I feel like she's just kind of forced into this role because
yeah. She's kind of
there's
quirky. It doesn't
yeah,
feel authentic. It doesn't. It
yes.
does. But
And
it feels like they took that shtick from Two Broke Girls and tried to fit it
yes.
in there.
Yeah, because there is no if you take her out, where there's not really any comedy. There's like secondhand embarrassment comedy because Thor doesn't really know like how humans act. So when he
Hmm.
smashes down a glass and says another, it's like that's funny because it's like he doesn't really do that sort of thing. But it just feels like her character was like forced into this.
Hmm.
So I don't, and it's the same thing in Thor: The Dark World. It's not that I don't hate her character or anything. I just feel like she's kind of forced. Um, and I mean, she would have probably been great in Thor Ragnarok if we got any sort of thing of her in Thor Ragnarok, because that would have made sense. And then in WandaVision, she kind of plays out like she fits in WandaVision a lot because she is smart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that these two Thor movies don't do with her. She's smart. And they don't really test that out in these two
You talking
movies.
about
They
Jane
treat her like
Foster?
an
You talking
assistant.
about Jane Foster or
No,
two broke girls?
the girl from Two Broke Girls.
Okay.
Like she's not like she's an assistant in these two movies,
Well,
these
I
two
think
Thor
they're
movies.
playing a trope there, and you know
Yeah,
where I'm going.
and
So.
but like she's smarter than that. And because there's no comedic relief in this movie, sadly she had to be the comedic relief, and that's
Mm.
kind of sucks. And like all the stuff with Shield, I mean, I guess you honestly could have taken everything out when it comes to all the stuff as Shield, and this movie still plays the exact same way because like Agent Coulson at the end says we'll be in touch. He doesn't really get in, like it doesn't lead to anything. Like Eric Selvig ends up working for Shield, but honestly, you didn't even need to connect him at all. You could have just they could have been just like, "Oh, Shield says that guy's really smart. Let's bring him in." You could have just done that one and boom, you're done.
Well,
Um
I think you needed Coulson. I gotta disagree with you a little bit. I think you needed Coulson because when it comes to his perceived death in the
yes.
Avengers, that's what united them.
Yes.
You get what
I
I'm saying?
agree.
And
And it
so if he doesn't develop that relationship with Thor, if he doesn't develop that relationship with Iron Man, if he doesn't have this huge man crush on Steve
mhm,
Rogers, there's no connectivity with the big dogs, with the top three. And that's really
yes.
what united them, right? Because in Avengers, they're kind of all, kind of checking each other out and feeling each other out and judging each other. And when
Mhm.
Coulson dies, it's like, oh, not that guy.
Yes.
Oh, we got to kick your ass. Okay, let's go. You know what I mean? But anyway, we'll get into that. I'm so excited we're talking Avengers tonight. But anyway, um, let's get into some character arcs, right? So Thor starts entitled, impulsive, reckless. Earth strips him of his ego, or rather, Odin strips him of his ego by sending him to Earth and forces him to reflect. By the end, Thor understands leadership means restraint, not dominance. And I love the scene when the I don't know if you want to call it the bot, whatever this monstrosity is that
Mhm.
Loki sends to Earth. I love the scene where Thor walks up to him because it was so pure. That was just pure, and he was like, "Brother, whatever I've done to offend you, whatever I've done to upset you, you know, killing these people isn't going to solve that. You know what I mean? Forgive me, whatever I've done, and if you have to do something, then take my life." And it was pure. Like I felt something in that scene, and so much so that Loki is probably one of the more complicated characters in Marvel because he doesn't kill Thor. Right? He could have. He probably should have. If he kills him right there, he wins. But there's a little bit of love there. Loki has love for his brother. As mischievous, as devious, as manipulative as he does have love for his brother. And so he just decided, you know what? I'll just smack him up. You know what I mean? I'll wound him for about 6 months because Thor was going to be hurt for a while. And it was in this act that Thor then proves worthy. And I love the way they did it because
Mhm.
as soon as he smacked him and I see Odin's face and that tears running down, I'm like, oh, shit. Oh, you done messed up now, Loki. And you hear Odin's words that whosoever be worthy, and all of a sudden you see Shield, and they're reading the metrics on this hammer, and it just shoots up in the air, and Eric's like, hey, Jane, you better get out of there. Let's go, buddy. And Thor grabs it, and man, I got goosebumps now just thinking about that scene, man. And you're right, it wasn't a whole lot of action, but I love that scene because that to me was Thor truly stepping into manhood that day. and becoming something more. So I enjoyed that. Um, Again, Loki is a very complicated character, man. He's very complex because he is capable of great evil, but he is also capable of doing great things. He sacrifices himself for his brother in Endgame. He literally does. And he knows he's about to die and he says, "Hey, I'm Loki, Odin's son." And that's his way of saying to Thor, "Hey man, I know we had our issues, brother, but I'm down. We're down like four flats. I'm with you. I'm your man, 30 grand, and I'll see you in the next life." And again, some of the best scenes in this entire arc for the Avengers, this entire 10-year trek was with Loki because he's such a complicated character. So I enjoyed that. He really was the emotional engine of the film. He is driven by abandonment, jealousy, and identity crisis. And I agree with that 100%. And who the hell is calling me right now? Jesus. I am so sorry. Hang on one second. Okay, they hung up. Thank God. Okay. It's like they heard me. Anyway, um, that's weird. Anyway, that was a messenger call, so sorry about that. Sorry guys if you're watching this. But anyway, um, I just think just in watching this, I guess from a character perspective, Jordan, Loki is fun. He's
Mhm.
fun. He's because you know what I mean, on whatever particular day, right? Like in this movie, there are a couple of times he really intends to kill Thor because he's that mad and that driven and that ambitious. But then later on in the Avengers saga, he does things to save him. And I think his character arc might be the most interesting of them all. But give me your thoughts on Loki. Give me your thoughts on his character arc. Just give me your thoughts on him in general.
I mean, you said it. He's the emotional engine of this film. I think if you take him out, like, there's the romanticism between Thor and Jane, but his you feel for him. This is where Marvel began with the villains you can relate to and the villains you feel bad for and you understand why they're doing it, even though you disagree with them. You understand why they're doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
It all started with Loki, and I mean, you're this is where I always thought Odin was just wrong, and Odin admits that when he ends up dying in Ragnarok, like he's like, I failed you, both of you, and I mean that's in my opinion one of the most emotional scenes in all of the MCU. I mean,
Mhm.
I there was people crying during that scene, and we're only like 10-15 minutes into Ragnarok. um,
You suck,
and
Hella. Wherever you are, you suck.
um, and which is fun. And think about this for a second in retrospective. So he made Thor king, and he was going to make Thor king in this movie, even though he was clearly not ready. I'm pretty sure, like, at what point did he make Hela a queen? Like, Hela could have ruled Asgard over Odin. I
But
mean,
if you
she's
if you
definitely
think
older.
Thor was blood drunk,
Oh,
nah, bruh.
yeah, she
Nah.
definitely was.
If you think
Um,
Thor was blood, nah, man.
yeah.
Uh-uh. He
Um,
couldn't stop
but
her.
right. But with Loki, I mean, you feel so bad for him, and that's where I think this was the right direction to go with the director's perspective for this film. Um, just I think this movie could have been great. I think this movie could have been the best film of Phase One outside of the first Avengers film. I think it could have been better than Iron Man 1 and Captain America. Um, but I think it's forced. Um, it forced itself to connect it to Earth so that we could set up the Avengers,
Yeah.
which I understand it. I'm not gonna say don't do that. But I think if we do end up rebooting the character in the future, I wouldn't be shocked if the whole film takes place on Asgard. Um, and because they were forced to wrap this up really quickly to connect him to Earth, and then connect him to the Avengers.
Hmm.
So I mean, I don't know. There's just some frustrations I have in general, but otherwise Loki, yeah, Loki is the driving emotional train in this whole entire movie.
Yeah, no, I agree, for me, the dynamic between Loki and Thor, I definitely agree. Jane Foster, curiosity, compassion, belief. She grounds the cosmic narrative. What I wasn't I wasn't captivated by her. I was captivated by the interaction between she and Thor, but I
Yeah.
think that's just the boy girl thing that goes on in my brain whenever I see, a movie of that ilk. Like, oh, I wonder where this is going. But she didn't captivate me like that. I'll give you that. And again, her character arc is much steeper because who she ends up becoming is a
Hmm.
lot different than who she is today. And not that she was docile or anything like that, not even that they dumbed her down. It's just that she was not that impressive in this particular, and maybe that's the way they wrote her. I don't know. But, I got to be honest, you know, if this were the story of Kim and Kim were Thor, I'm going to be pretty impressed that, this hot chick can come down from Asgard and control lightning in her hammer. Nothing I say is going to be interesting at that point. You get what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
can kind of I can see that. Once she gets used to him, that's different, but this is a Superman Lois Lane thing going on. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about when she first sees him, like, oh my God. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Matter of fact, she even says it. She was like, is that how you normally dress? And he's like, yeah. She was like, that's a good look on you. Remember that?
Hmm.
When he
Yeah.
gets, so, I mean, I think she was a little spellbound. And who wouldn't be? I mean, the guy commands thunder, right? Come
Hmm.
on. So I get it. Heimdall. I really liked
Yes.
Heimdall.
Love
I really
Heimdall.
liked Heimdall.
I love Idris Elba.
Yeah.
I love him.
I thought he was. I got nothing bad to say about him, man.
Hmm.
I loved his character. Um, I thought he was phenomenal. I really did. I mean, silent, but just the way he's written in this, I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed the character. I don't know that he has much of an arc.
Nah, he doesn't.
Are you okay? Jordan, give me one sec, man. I'm gonna
Okay.
pause this from recording. Hang on one sec.
Okay.
Let me pause it. All right, Jordan, you there?
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that, man. Yeah, sorry. Wife had to ask me something. Anyway, well, she wanted to tell me something. Anyway, sorry about that. All right, so Heimdall, I loved him. I loved his costume. I
Did you
loved
ever
the
play?
eyes.
Did you hit play on the recording first?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
I
Okay.
see what you
Just
did
wanted to
there.
double. I
I
no.
see what
I
you
get
did
worried.
there. No,
I
you're
get
right.
worried sometimes.
You're
I get
right.
worried sometimes.
You're right. You're right. As you should be. You're right.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. But anyway, I like the costume. I like the eyes. I like he's just a great him dog because he doesn't say much, but in what he says, there's I don't necessarily want to call it profound, but he makes the most of the words that he uses. He doesn't say a lot, but when he speaks, he speaks. You get what I'm saying? He is the perfect watcher. Like I really liked that. I really liked how how he and Thor interacted. I enjoyed that, and
That's an interesting. He said he's a good watcher. I'm curious. So the watchers can see everybody, right?
yeah,
Can he see Can he see the watchers?
probably not.
Because he can see everything, like happening in the universe. But I'm very curious if he can.
I
I
think
love
the
his
Watchers are
powers.
outside of time, though, aren't they? Aren't they
Um,
outside of time? Aren't they outside of the construct of time?
I don't. That's when it comes to Marvel Comics and the Watchers. That's where I get like confused. I'm like, all right, like what do we know? What is there to know about the Watchers? Because in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, when we see the Watchers, they're pretty. I mean, they're right there. I wouldn't say they're outside of time at all. And like if they're in that version, I mean, I could see Heimdall seeing them, but when they are outside of space and time, like in some of the episodes of What If, I mean, then I could see how he can't see them. And you have to have. It's also possible Heimdall is two things about this. It's also Heimdall is almost worthy enough to see the Watchers, but he does not feel obligated to speak to
To watch
them at
them.
all.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, I'm curious, would Heimdall be able to lift Thor's hammer?
That's interesting.
Because I think in my opinion, out of all the Marvel characters, I think Heimdall's probably in my like top 10 most likely characters that could lift the hammer.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is it says, and not that this applies to Heimdall, he's a good guy,
Yeah.
but you just have to be worthy. You don't necessarily have to be a good guy, because I think there have been some villains
Right.
that have lifted that hammer,
Hmm.
and guys are like, wait a minute, he's not. No, it's you have to be worthy. Now, what the worthiness metric is, I don't know, but you just have to be deemed worthy, right? So I don't know, but let's get into some let's get into the whole Odin, you're not my real dad scene. So
You're not my dad.
you're not my real dad, Odin. Dang it. So Odin,
Have you seen that meme, the you're not my dad meme?
no, no,
Oh, it's one of the funniest memes. Anytime someone's like, "You're not my dad," I'm like, "You're not my dad."
you're
Yeah,
not
you
my
just you
dad.
gotta watch it. It's one of the funniest. I think it was a Vine originally, but it's hilarious. I send people that a lot. So yeah, you gotta watch this after.
You know what my favorite meme is? The one where the little kid is like, a bullshit, a bullshit. Like that is, I could watch that all day. Anyway, um, so he says to him, well, we found you. And then he was like, I don't want to hear that. Give me the real reason. Because I know it was. And it was like, we were hoping that it would form an alliance between us and the Frost
Mm,
Giants. And Loki says, so essentially, I'm a prop. And I think
mm-hmm.
in this moment, Loki is just hurt,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, two schools of thought here, right? The one is, you might have felt like you were treated differently, but they didn't hate you because you're you're a prince. You're in the king's court. The king publicly acknowledges you. So there has to be some love there. You get what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because if it was so obvious, you'd have gone to them and been like, I can't be. Something's got to be up here. Because he has no clue he's adopted. Which speaks to the fact, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I live this. So there's a part of me that's like, bullshit. But anyway, in my experience, when they told me that my dad was not my birth, it confirmed some things that I had already been thinking. You get what I'm saying? He's
Yeah.
totally shocked. He's
Mm-hmm.
shocked. Now he's pissed and he said, you treated me differently, but he's shocked.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't that shocked. I was hurt. I was pissed. But when I thought about it, I wasn't that shocked. You get what I'm saying? So my point is, there's got to be some love there. They can't be treating you that differently because you'd have, when he touched you, your response would have been, I knew it. Okay, That makes sense. Now okay. And it wasn't that. He was hurt. He was angry. Why was he hurt? Because he didn't know. Because he really thought they were his parents. So
Mhm.
for me,
Mhm.
it's a double. Yeah, they probably did treat him differently. Because let's be real. He's a frost giant. They're probably thinking, is he gonna turn? Like when you, was he gonna? You know what I mean? Let's look at it from a human perspective. They gotta be thinking that. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I get it, but there had to be love there. Even when he tells his mom, she's like, your father didn't want you to feel any differently. And there's got to be some truth to that. Yes, he did use him as a prop, Jordan. I'll say that. He kind of did. And yes, he did have thousands of years. He had millennia to tell him. And there's kind of no excuse. But I get it. But let's talk about how you feel about it.
I mean, if you look at like human history and you look at all the kings and queens and rulers, and they've used their children as props. Now imagine they're not actually their birth child. He's literally using him for a war prop so that he could find an understanding in his mortal enemy. And I'm just like, that's so like you should have never even told Loki. That's something you don't even tell your wife. Don't tell Loki. You keep that thought in your head. It's the same thought that like when Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman have
Ah,
this
yeah,
conversation
yeah,
in
yeah.
First Steps where it's like you didn't have to say what you just said,
Right,
Mr.
right,
Fantastic.
right,
You could have kept that to yourself.
right.
Don't
But
say
she,
that out
but
loud.
she, to your point, she asked him though, and even
That's different.
just like in this scene, Loki says, "I
Mhm.
know there's more," and I don't think he was gonna give up.
Oh, I
I
would
don't
have
think he was
never.
gonna give up. I think he was gonna be like, no, no, like they'd have been there for 3 years. Like, no, you're gonna tell me. You're
He
going to
shouldn't
tell
have
me.
said it.
No,
He
I
shouldn't have.
mean,
He should have. He should have made something up. He should have made. That was the worst possible thing you could have said in the entire
so he
situation.
should have made it
Because
worse by lying. He
because
should have compounded it
yes,
by lying.
on,
Is that what you're saying?
honestly, because if you say that, if you are automatically showing that he never really wanted you emotionally. He only wanted you literally.
Well, it may have
And
started that way though, right? So but Jordan, let's be real. Let's
on a
be real.
foundation of lies, basically.
Let's but it doesn't mean he doesn't love you now. He's been with you for millennia. He's had to develop some sort of affinity for you. What's
Then
this? What's that? Tomato, tomato. What are
then
we doing? What are
six
we
seven.
saying?
No. Thousands of years. We're talking. It's not like 20 years. Thousands of years. Think about this. Think about this. 1,000 years ago is 1900. There were no NFL. There was no. The NFL didn't exist.
There
The
was no internet.
MLB was the AL and NL weren't even together. Like there was no internet. There was no TV. There was nothing compared to now. And thousands of years, 1,000 years ago, Loki was probably looked the exact same. I mean, considering how old he is, I don't know how old specifically he is, but he's thousands of years old. You couldn't have sat him down one single day and been like you could have had a game of catch and been like, Loki, I need to talk to you. Loki, I need to talk to you. This is very important. Loki,
Catch
put
the
down the
hammer,
snake.
son.
Put yeah, put down the snake, Loki. Thor, go see your mom, and then talk to him. You, the, I Odin is oh, in my opinion, and I've had this is a strong opinion. Okay, um, in my opinion, Loki is a worse father than Thanos. I will say that. That's an opinion I've had for a
Odin is
very
a
for
worse father
literally
than Thanos,
Thanos.
who
Yes,
killed
in my opinion.
Gamora's parents.
Yes,
Look it. I
yes.
defend Thanos by saying that he's not the worst
Yes.
villain when it comes to Mysterio, but I can't go there with you, man.
At least
I
Thanos
can't
was there
go there with you.
emotionally. At least Thanos was there emotionally
He
for his
killed her
children.
parents in front of her.
To be fair, to be fair, to be fair, to be great
How
streaming
can we
service
be
free.
fair about that?
To be fair, um that it has nothing to do with that part. It's
Oh,
more
don't
of
do that, Jordan.
the
Don't
no,
do
it's
that.
the
Don't do
relationship.
that.
It's a relationship. It's the same
Don't.
thing with like he Odin was lying even after he died. About the whole thing with Hela. The whole thing with Hela. He didn't talk to Loki, and he lied in all three films that he was in. Every single one of them. And it's not just a little lie like, oh, I forgot to take out the trash. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, you have a sister. When I die, then she's gonna come and try and kill everyone. Bye. Um, and he lies. He's like, oh, by the way, I'm not your real dad. The only reason I got you was because I wanted to
That's
create
not how
peace
he
with
said it.
my
That's
mortal
not
enemies.
how he
That's
said it.
basically what he said. And then it's like, oh, by the way, we're gonna have to kill Thor. We're gonna have to probably kill your girlfriend because she has an Infinity Stone in her, and there's no way she's gonna be able to survive the whole process. Like, what? He is awful. Like, even in Infinity War when he kills Gamora, right? And I know I said that. Um, when like right before he kills Gamora, he literally offers her. At the end of the day, if Gamora and Nebula had just followed their dad's path, that neither would have died. Neither would have died. Because Thanos would have just gone collecting the Infinity Stones. Um, and as soon as if Gamora was on
You'd have
Thanos'
just
side,
gone along with my plan of genocide for half the universe. You'd have been okay,
he was a,
Gamora.
and that's where it's what Thanos was doing was not right. He was not right. None of
Wait.
what he was
Do
doing was
not
right,
tell.
but
Wait.
he was
Whoa.
a better
Whoa.
father than
Whoa.
Odin was.
Whoa. I know you're not about to defend Thanos when I brought this up 2 months ago and I said collectively or comparatively when we look at Mysterio and Thanos that Mysterio was worth. You can't come back and defend him now. No, sir. You cannot do that. No, Jordan. No,
I
no, no,
don't
no,
think
no.
Mysterio sucks. That's why. Like
No,
Mysterio is
you
just not a
can't do
good
that.
villain.
You
He's just
cannot
not.
do that.
He's not a great villain. It's a little different
I
because
didn't say, but
Mysterio
I
sucks.
said he was a worse villain. I said
Well,
he was
no,
worse. No,
but
no, no,
I'm
I didn't. I
saying
said he was more evil. I said he was more evil.
yeah, and I just think he sucks in general as
He
like the
may,
writing
but he's
standpoint.
still more evil.
I wouldn't say he's more evil
Oh
than
my
Thanos.
God. Oh my God. Make up your mind. Make up your
Because at
mind.
the end of the day, all I'm talking about is Thanos as a father. I'm not
So
talking about
Thanos,
how evil he
so
is.
Thanos is a better father than Odin, but he's
Yeah,
less
I mean,
evil than Mysterio. But he's
all right, all right. I want you to go and research some of the cruelest people in world history, right? And if they had kids, and I want you to see how their relationship was with their kids, because that's a whole different perspective you see on those people throughout history, and you're like, why did they treat their kids like this, but then they treated the rest of the world like crap? It's very interesting,
yeah.
and that's how I view this whole thing. It's
That's
like
interesting. Okay, that's fair.
Thanos. Thanos was not a good person whatsoever, but as a father, he was more involved. He was literally more involved in Gamora and Nebula's lives than Odin was. Odin wanted to kill Jane when he found the Infinity Stone. He wanted to pull it right out of her and just say bye. But you know what? You know what? Thanos literally was like, "I offered you supper," and gave Gamora supper and stuff like that.
Oh, he
Um,
fed her. Oh,
yeah, yeah, and he's like begging her to like show what he's trying to do because he doesn't want, at the end of the day, he doesn't want to kill Gamora. I mean, literally, he's crying as he's throwing her off, but that was his moral mission to be on, because he wanted, and so he needed to get that moral mission done. Even and what did he lose? He lost everything. And uh, yeah, no, as a father, and I'm very curious how the internet feels about this too. Ew, was Thanos a better father, or was Odin a better father? Because
Maybe
yeah,
we
I
throw that out there. Maybe we throw that out there. So let's get to it, man. Let's get to some themes. Um, Worthiness is definitely one. In that moment when Thor appeals to his brother and just comes, on the humble, he is deemed worthy and becomes Thor. Identifying and belonging, sibling rivalry is definitely one. Power versus humility and sacrifice. And I think sacrifice is a big part of Thor's character throughout the entire trek because he loses everybody. He loses Heimdall, he loses his mom, he loses his dad, he loses his brother, and the only thing he's left with is his daughter. You know,
Mhm.
which makes the prayer that he's sending out to Odin. Oh my God, I loved it because I got it. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like in the
Yes.
Doomsday trailer, where he's like, "Look, I've been given this thing. Father, make me successful in battle so that I can come back and teach her differently, so that I can
Mhm.
teach her to." And I thought that was beautiful because I understood everything that Thor went through. Does that make sense? Like,
Yes.
wow, that was I enjoyed that.
And
Um,
that's the best dialogue, in my opinion, from Thor that I've seen since this movie.
yeah,
I have not heard, like, the dialogue in this movie is really, really good. I really like it. What I saw of just that Doomsday trailer, that may have been one of the greatest things I've ever heard Thor say in dialogue, and I've only heard like 5 seconds. Like, I really cannot wait, because I from all the dialogue I've heard in these teasers, I'm like, man, if this better not be the best thing I hear, because it'll be a letdown when I go see that movie. But yeah, the dialogue. I mean, the dialogue sucked in Thor: Love and Thunder. Ragnarok is when we started straying away from it.
Ragnarok
The
was
dark,
funny though.
yes,
Ragnarok
the
was funny. That was
Thor:
funny.
The Dark World's dialogue I liked. But I like it about the same as I did this movie.
That one, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Let's get into some Easter eggs, man. We see Hawkeye's first appearance in here.
Mhm.
The Tesseract, Odin's vault with the cosmic artifacts. One of them being the gauntlet, the Infinity Gauntlet.
Mhm.
The Frost Giants connecting to Infinity lore. Shield expanding into cosmic territory. Um, and what else did I? The Bifrost. And yeah, yeah. So that's also been fun. Is just watching the Easter eggs, the mini Easter eggs that
Mhm.
they drop in there. Like I think um I think Selvig drops a reference to Banner when he's like, "I knew a guy that worked with gamma radiation."
Yes.
So I thought that was cool, man. I really enjoyed it. Um, I really enjoyed this film. I really did. Um, Obviously I'm not going to give it a 10, but I really enjoyed I enjoyed the film. I thought I looked at it like if I saw this when I first saw this I probably would have given it a 5.5. But it's definitely not a 5.5 anymore. Um Age like wine and age like milk. So Loki's character definitely age like wine. Mythical framing, age like wine. Some of the CGI in this movie didn't age well. I'll
Yeah.
give it that. Not all of it, but some of it did. Specifically when looking at the Bifrost when they're on that bridge, some of it was just like, meh, it didn't age well to me. But other than that, that was about it. Um, my rating, because we got to move on. for this is gonna be. Huh. I was really thinking about this, Jordan. Damn you.
Mhm.
Because now you're in my head like, well, if you gave it this, what about this? What about that? Blah,
Mhm.
blah, 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 blah. And in my head, you never shut up. So, because I hear you going, well, if you gave this, is this higher than this higher than that, and da 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 da.
I'm just trying to figure out the rankings and stuff like that so I can put it
Yeah,
in the list properly.
yeah, I know it, but you make me think. And I know you're going to do that with this one. That's why I'm bitching. Um,
Mhm.
damn it. I want to give it a 6.5, but I'm gonna give it a 7. I'm gonna give it a 7.
Another one. The last three films you've given are sevens
Yeah,
now.
I've enjoyed them. I've enjoyed them. I think 7 is like it was decent. It was okay. Like if I give it a 6, I gotta come with the flaw. If I give it a 5, I really it's multiple flaws in it.
Yeah.
But for me, I'll give it a 7. And I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess, knowing you and the way you talked about it and the way that you hate to be bored, I'm gonna guess you're gonna give this one a 6. So,
Uh,
what say you?
all right. Quick question, because you have four other films that are 7 out of 10s. Where
I
does
knew it was
Thor
coming.
fall? So The Incredible Hulk is your first one, then Fantastic Four with Tim Story's Fantastic Four, then Iron Man 2, then X-Men Apocalypse.
Okay, which Fantastic Four?
Tim Story's from 2005,
Okay.
6. Yeah.
So it's above Hulk, it's above Fantastic Four,
If it's above Hulk and Fantastic Four, then you would have it above Iron Man 2 and Apocalypse.
then that's where it's gotta be.
All right, so you have it at the top.
Then that's where it's gotta be. I liked Iron Man 2. Let me think about that. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna present it to you this way because this is how I mentally think about
Okay.
the rankings.
Okay.
So, all right, I'm giving you blank slate. We didn't don't think about this movie. Don't
Mhm.
just think you're putting on a movie right now,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You and Kim are gonna watch an Avengers movie, a Marvel movie, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I present to you X Men Apocalypse or Thor. Which one are you gonna watch?
Thor.
More often.
Thor.
Which are you gonna watch?
Thor.
Thor. All right. I present to you Iron Man 2 and Thor.
Thor.
All right. I present to you 2005 Fantastic Four or
Not even
Thor.
close. Thor.
Thor. I present to you The Incredible Hulk or Thor.
Thor.
All right. And then Thor is your top one.
All right. Thor it is. Now,
That's
what's
how
yours?
I always view it.
Okay, that
Um,
makes sense.
so I gave it a. What did I give it? Where's the ranking? I gave it a 5.5 out of 10.
Ah, I was
I have
so
it.
close. I was
In
close.
my in all of my Marvel rankings, it is the next movie above Iron Man 2. So I'd rather watch this movie than Iron Man 2.
Okay.
Um so I I just and Iron Man 2 I've already had my gripes that there's way too much going on, and with this movie it's like two different stories. Like I love the Asgard stuff. I love all of that. I think that's so cool. And I love the Shakespearean element of this movie. They got the perfect director for this. I just don't give a crap about all the stuff that happens on Earth.
Yeah, I
The
get
Earth, they could say Earth blew up and I wouldn't care.
it.
Um, like I just straight up don't care. I don't it's not Natalie Portman's fault. I just don't care about Jane Foster in this. Selvig, I think he's funny at stuff sometimes, but in like a it's in like a fun uncle sort of way.
Yeah,
To both Jane and Thor. Um, especially the bar sequence. I love that. It's
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
Like they're both pounding drinks, but Thor hasn't like got drunk whatsoever, and Selvig's like intoxicated. Um, I there's I think my favorite part on Earth is it's probably the conversation that Jane and Thor have, where they're talking about science and magic and how Thor comes from a world that has both of them. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
that whole conversation, it's this like enlightenment for Jane,
Mm-hmm.
but she doesn't develop a character arc at all. Like by the end of the film, I think she just learns more.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't go on a journey. So I just yeah, I just don't care about anything that happens on Earth at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe that's because we're in the middle of a desert and we're in the middle of New Mexico. I don't know. There's great places in New Mexico. We could have found better places than this in general. This small place. Um, it's it's frustrating because I do want to put this higher.
Mm-hmm.
It's just every time and every time I think about this movie, I think about like, oh, I love this part. And then every time I watch it, I'm just like, this could have been so much better.
Mm.
And yeah, Odin angers me every time I watch all of these movies. I'm like, I hate you, bro. You're the worst dad in Marvel history. I have no doubt in my mind that there is not a worse father in
Oh
all
wow!
of Marvel comics
Oh my
and
god!
movies
Oh
than
wow!
Odin. And
Oh wow!
honestly, and you know what? If you Google it, Google who's a worse father, Thanos or Odin, it's gonna say Thanos because he's more emotionally invested in his children.
So Mephisto is a better father than Odin. The devil is a better father than Odin. One of
Yeah, he's
the
emotionally invested.
wow.
Odin
Okay.
basically is the devil.
Oh wow.
Odin didn't care. Honest, if Loki died at any point, did I don't if Loki died,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have loved to have seen Odin's reaction, and we might have gotten in the Thor: The Dark World. I haven't seen it in a while, but oh, we do at the end of Thor: The Dark World, we get his reaction to Loki dying, and it's just the most like not emotional thing ever. And you know, Anthony Hopkins is a fantastic actor, one of
He
the
is.
greatest
He is.
actors
He's
ever.
outstanding. He's outstanding.
But he just in that moment, he's just like, all right. Like that there's nothing to that. Like thousands of years your child that you raised, it's not even your legitimate child.
I gotta go
You're
back.
just
I
like
gotta go back
you're
and watch
just
that.
like you're like it's almost like dang, I scuffed up my Jordans.
Oh damn! All right. Look. I'll give you this. I'll watch. We're gonna watch that in a couple weeks anyway. So
Yes.
I'm gonna pay close attention to that.
Yeah.
So hey man, without further ado, we got to get to the Avengers. So give me one sec. I'm gonna set that up. Thank you for joining me. Now it gets fun. Let's get into the Avengers. Give me one sec. I'm gonna reset this. Hey, to everybody who watched this, thank you so much for joining us. You can see us at For My ATL Movies. One on YouTube. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you all the info. So you got a comment, concern, whatever, you can email me at formyatlcontact@gmail.com. You're into sports, you're into specifically Atlanta sports, you can go to For My ATL Sports 1 on YouTube. If you're into the Phillies or the Eagles or the Saints or the Sixers or the Bulls and whoever else Jordan supports, you can check him out at Otegacy because he's got his own thing going on. Again, all the movie content, all the TV series content for my ATL Movies 1 on Facebook. I'm Gideon T. Will. I'm also T. Will Podcaster. On X at For My ATL Sports and Instagram For My ATL Sports 1 and Movies. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a pause for the cause and come back in a few minutes and get started with the Avengers. Thank you, guys. Have an amazing day.